I'm here with former Blyth Spartans manager and player Brian Slane in Brian's County Durham home. Brian has an amazing record at the Spartans, 361 appearances, 242 goals. Successful manager, especially obviously during the 77-78 Cup run where we reached the fifth round replay. Brian, we've often talked over many years about the fortunes of your former club. And I know you've been generally quite concerned over the last few months, but can you tell us now how you feel that the future of the club has been secured under the new regime?
Well, like everybody else, I'm very, very concerned about the situation the club got itself into, or rather than the management or the owner of the club. And it's nice to see that football people are going to be now taking part and taking place and running the club, and that's so important, as we all know. Important, the spectators are important, the players are important, but your management team, the people at the top, have got to be football people. And as far as I'm aware, they seem to be the right category of people that we've got in charge now.
Sure. I'm interested in that relationship between a successful manager and the chairman and board. Wondering what it takes to build a successful working relationship between all those people, and how was it in your time at Blyth working with the chairman and the board?
Well, I was very lucky really, because I was appointed as a player by the chairman at the time, Jimmy Turney, and it was the chairman when he asked me or invited me to take over as the manager. So we were good friends. Apart from chairman manager, we were good personal friends. And would spend time together with families. So it's very important, because you've got to have that trust in each other. And I had 100% trust in Jimmy, and I like to think that he had that amount of trust in me.
Yeah, you've mentioned the word trust. I've written it down ready for this interview. Other times we've talked, you talked about trust between the players on the pitch, the trust you just mentioned between the manager and the board, and that's all got to come together, hasn't it?
The whole thing, supporters, you've got to take them in. They're the hub of the club. The supporters are the hub of the club. They wouldn't survive if you didn't have them. You've got to involve everybody, and everybody's got to be seen to take part and take an active part, and that's so important.
So everybody in that sort of grouping of people has a responsibility, don't they, to be part of the overall team?
The responsibility is with everybody. Everybody that's involved with a club, they have an equal responsibility. There's nobody more important than anybody else. Everybody wants to be pulling together and pulling in the same direction. And hopefully that's what's going to happen now.
Yeah, that's what you had in 77, 78, wasn't it? I mean, we were talking this morning before we started recording this interview about, the players you got in, and you mentioned, Jimmy Turney was so supportive of you, and the board were very supportive, and it all just seemed to come together with a bit of, you mentioned good fortune, and a bit of careful planning.
It goes back to the trust again. The management have got to have the trust in the chairman, and the chairman has to have the equal trust in the manager, and make sure that we're building a team for the future, and building a team that's going to support the club, and the supporters will support the club. It's so important.
Yeah, so the new Spartans manager, you'll know, is Michael Connor, who's a Blyth lad. He has talked previously in interviews about watching Terry Johnson play, who obviously was a compatriot of yours back in those days, and you were his manager indeed. So he's a good chance that Michael Connor seeing you play, Brian, and you'll be an absolute legend to him. What sort of message would you pass on to him as he starts his managerial career at Croft Park?
What would I do when I look back? I think the most important thing is to be honest to people, honest to the players, and let them trust you, and build that trust with the players, that they can come to you and you can go to them, and there's that equal, if you like, camaraderie between manager and players, and that's so important. Again, it's got to be with everybody. Everybody's got to take part in this. It's a big, big job, manager. It's a big job being a player, but you've got to be on the same side.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of your experience with that, I mean, does that take a long time to build up?
I think it does, yes. There's some people obviously are quicker than others. Some people they've got the eye on you, and you've got your eye on them. And but at the end of the day, I think you see that there's a mutual reason of why we're together is for the football club, and that's important to make sure that we're doing the right things for the football club.
Yeah, I mean, I know from talking to you a lot, you're Blythe through and through in terms of your very best wishes for the club and the future. How would you, what would you say to the fans and people of Blythe now?
Well, you're so important. You are so important. Blythe Spartans is relying on you, and Blythe Spartans is too big a club to go down. Everybody's had this worry a few weeks ago that this was going to happen. It's not going to happen, and everybody's pulling together. Just get behind the team and give them the support that they need and that the club deserves.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Thanks, Brian, for that. Much appreciated.